so old their memory's gone.
Johnny Silverhand died a legend. Nobody forgets that.
Hi, I'm Simon Candlish, and welcome to Marvelous Videos. Cyberpunk 2077 is known as one of the most popular role-playing video games of all time, and it is set in the fictional Night City, where players are assigned different roles ranging from musicians, known as Rockerboys, to police officers, computer hackers, and even assassins. The game was initially designed by Mike Pondsmith, who attempted to recreate the dark realism of the cyberpunk sci-fi genre from the 1980s. While Cyberpunk was originally introduced as a tabletop role-playing game, Cyberpunk 2077 was developed as a video game that followed the continuity of all the older story arcs. While people initially hesitated to buy this game because of numerous glitches, most of the issues have been resolved, and the game has garnered many positive reviews for its writing and design. Johnny Silverhand was one of the most famous characters from the Cyberpunk 2077, and he was voiced by none other than legendary Keanu Reeves. Today we'll be exploring Johnny Silverhand's biography and story arcs and tell you everything about this super cool character. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Know what? You're starting to remind me of me, 50 years back.
A complete biography of Johnny Silverhand and his story arcs from the game. Johnny Silverhand was one of the Rockerboys, who were rebellious musicians that used their charisma to sway the crowds against the corrupt authorities. He was also the lead singer of a famous band named Samurai, and was infamously known for his dedication to fighting the corrupt government and megacorps. Johnny Silverhand was born Robert John Linder on the 16th of November 1988 in a place called College Station, Texas. He lived quite an adventurous and daring life even before becoming a rocker boy, and he even enlisted in the military as a teenager. Even as a teenager, Johnny wished to be on the front line to witness the action, and he even lied about his age so that he could join the military. At the age of 15, he was sent to Nicaragua and Mexico to be part of the Second Conflict. This conflict, also known as the Second Central American War, started in 2003 when the US invaded various countries such as Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Venezuela. Johnny was dispatched to Mexico with a troop of soldiers, and he even got into a life-threatening situation wherein his friend sacrificed himself in order to save Johnny. Johnny ended up losing an arm during one of the fights, and he later learned that the entire war was orchestrated by a corrupt government. Many American soldiers refused to fight for such a government and decided to abandon their posts and return home. While the government spread propaganda about these men being deserters, Johnny also decided to stop fighting in a war that had cost him his friend. He headed to Night City and stayed at the Pista Sofia Hotel, where he re-evaluated his life and tried to find a new purpose in it. He even got a cybernetic arm to replace his lost arm and changed his name to Johnny Silverhand. Silverhand now decided to work against the corrupt government and expose their activities, and he became a rocker boy. He teamed up with his friend Kerry Eurodyne, and they started a rock band named Samurai. They had their first gig at a small bar called Red Dirt, and they were soon scouted by a producer named Jack Masters. Jack offered them a contract with Universal Recording, and the Samurai soon became a revolutionary group. Johnny and Kerry were the co-founders of Samurai, while Denny, Nancy, and Henry also joined the band at a later date. After signing a contract with Universal Recording, the Samurai became an overnight sensation, and their songs rose on the music charts in record time. While Silverhand's group was widely successful, they struggled to keep making music after their keyboard player Nancy was arrested for killing her abusive boyfriend. The group disbanded in 2008, but Silverhand still maintained his status as one of the most famous musicians at the time. He decided to go solo to spread his message through music, and a record company named DBS Music hoped to sign an exclusive contract with him. When Silverhand refused to join them, DBS Music threatened to expose his past as a military deserter. However, Silverhand did not care for their threats and decided to sign a contract with Universal Music once again. He then released an album named Sins of Your Brother, wherein he admitted his military past and exposed the government's secrets. Silverhand's album gave headway to a revolutionary campaign and changed the general masses' perception of military deserters. He continued to make music, spread his message, and even held free benefit concerts in order to raise awareness. In the 2010s, Silverhand had free concerts in the Japantown district in Night City, where he made the public aware of the NCPD's brutality whilst dealing with the homeless riots. He was also dating Rogue at the time, but they broke up in 2011 after Silverhand cheated on her. Silverhand held concerts to raise awareness for several years, and he once performed at the Hammer on the 4th of August 2013. This event was particularly important because of what happened post-concert, wherein Johnny's ex-girlfriend, Alt Cunningham, was kidnapped by some goons. While Johnny and Alt were walking around, the megacorp named Arasaka arranged for some goons to injure Johnny and then kidnap Alt right in front of his eyes. Alt had worked to develop the Soul Killer software, which creates an engram of a person's mind, and Arasaka wanted her to design a variation of this program. After recovering from his injuries, Johnny gathered a group of people consisting of Rogue, Santiago, and a media reporter named Thompson, and came up with a plan to infiltrate Arasaka Tower and save Alt. Johnny also decided to bring his former band members together to hold a free concert in front of the Arasaka Towers. While the concert provided a distraction, it also led to a riot on the Arasaka Tower's roof. An Arasaka executive named Toshiro Harada panicked after witnessing the riot and decided to use their version of the Soul Killer software to trap Alt inside the Arasaka mainframe. While this caused Alt to lose consciousness and fall to the floor, her engram tried to find its way out of the mainframe and return to her body. Meanwhile, Johnny and the others broke into the tower and came face to face with Toshiro and Akira, whilst Alt's body was lying on the floor. Since Alt had developed this software on her own, she had built a fail-safe measure that would enable her to come back to life if Toshiro ever decided to use the software on her. Alt's consciousness was still alive in the Arasaka mainframe, but Johnny was unaware of this, and he used an explosive charge to attack Toshiro. Toshiro used this as an opportunity to disconnect Alt's engram from her body, but he was soon killed by Johnny, who wanted to avenge Alt's death. Johnny then headed to Alt's body and picked her up while her engram tried to reach out to him from behind a wall of monitors. Johnny could not hear her screams, and he unknowingly killed her by disconnecting her from the Arasaka mainframe. Johnny then left with Alt's body, unaware that he had left behind her digital form, which could only communicate with others through the net servers. Johnny then decided to leave Night City with Santiago, and the two of them joined the Aldo Cados nomad community. While not much was known about Johnny's whereabouts for a few years, he was once rescued by a firefighter named Samantha Stevens from a fire in one of his music studios. Alt later contacts Johnny through the net to inform him that she is at Arasaka Tower, and she also asks him not to come after her. In 2023, Johnny teamed up with Morgan Blackhand and a few other associates to lead an attack on the Arasaka Towers. He wanted to put an end to the Fourth Corporate War by using a mini nuke to destroy the towers. He also wanted to find Alt's engram, but this turned out to be quite a struggle for him. Eventually, Johnny managed to free Alt's engram, but their team soon ended up getting cornered by Adam Smasher, a cyborg who worked as a hitman for Arasaka. Johnny suffered a few injuries in this fight, but he still persisted with the Militech SMG in one hand and his infamous Malorian shotgun in the other. However, he was eventually killed when Smasher fired an auto shotgun at him and split his body into two pieces. While Spider Murphy tries to save Johnny, Rogue steps in and asks her to back off, saying that Johnny is already gone. Spider Murphy then received a data slug from her pocket, which had been given to her by Alt quite some time ago. She then said she was sorry for her actions and inserted this chip into the back of Johnny's head. Murphy tried to create Johnny's engram, but her data suitcase was destroyed during the fight. She then had to abandon the scene and leave with Rogue, and the two were confident that they would eventually avenge Johnny's death.
Wasn't slumming it in squats like your whole thing?
Sure, when I was skezzed out.
What eventually happened to Johnny Silverhand? Johnny's engram had a different storyline in Cyberpunk 2077, wherein he actually succeeded in his fight against Adam Smasher. He had then headed to the top of Arasaka Towers, where Rogue was waiting for him in a helicopter. However, Johnny was then attacked by Smasher and presumed to be dead, while Saburo Arasaka interrogated him and decided to use their version of the Soul Killer program on him. Johnny's consciousness was scanned and stored in an engram by Saburo, while his physical body deteriorated and was eventually buried in concrete in the oil fields outside the city limits. While Rogue, Spider Murphy and the others did not find his body, they dedicated a niche in his memory at the North Oak Columbarium. These events were also infamously known as the Night City Holocaust of 2023, since Johnny had tried to nuke the Arasaka buildings during their fight. After a while, a firefighter named Samantha Stevens, who was also a fan of Johnny Silverhand, ended up in the city's dangerous hot zone area. She was summoned by request from a technician known as Angel, who resided in New Mexico. Samantha visited the red zone, where she stumbled across one of the unused mini nukes and even found Johnny's body buried in the concrete. Samantha first emptied the contents of the nuke's crate crate in Del Coronado Bay and then put Johnny's body in the nuke's crate to preserve it. She continued to search for Johnny's possessions for a long time and even got her hands on his Porsche and his Malorian 3516. She decided to hide all these items in her garage in Night City and kept them safe for many years. In the year 2038, a group of Edgerunners was obsessed with finding one of Johnny's unreleased songs, and Samantha decided that it would be a good idea to ask the Edgerunners to take Johnny's body with them and hand it over to Angel in New Mexico. She also handed Johnny's Malorian shotgun to one of these Edgerunners named Zara and told her that the gun's owner did not have any use for it anymore. She further told Zara that she seemed like the right person to have this weapon, and the Edgerunners soon took their leave for New Mexico. They safely delivered the nuke crate to Angel in New Mexico, who opened it to find Johnny's body in it and addressed him as her love. In a series of events that took place before Cyberpunk 2077, Johnny's stolen engram was placed on a prototypical version of a relic. These relics were developed by the Arasaka Megacorp, and the relic enabled the user to read the engrams. However, this engram and the relic were stolen by Saburo Arasaka's son, Yorinobu, who did not like his father and wanted to expose him to the public. Yorinobu placed the relic and the engram in a vault in Konpeki Plaza and hoped that his father would venture out to get the relic back. However, Yorinobu's plan did not work when the rebellious Voodoo Boys uncovered Johnny's engram location and decided to steal it. They wanted to use Johnny's engram to get in touch with Alt Consciousness, since they hoped Alt would help them bypass the net's firewall named the Black Wall. The Voodoo Boys even hired the doll named Evelyn Parker to visit the Konpeki Plaza and use her brain-dancing abilities to relay the engram's exact location to the Voodoo Boys. However, Evelyn soon betrayed the group and tried to steal the device for her own benefit. She hired two mercenaries named V and Jackie Wells and sent them to steal the relic and bring it to her. While V and Jackie successfully managed to steal the relic, they damaged its storage case while trying to escape. Jackie was also fatally wounded by Arasaka's men, and he decided to take a drastic decision and place the relic within V's body. While V was murdered by Arasaka's men, the relic revived him within no time. Furthermore, this process also woke Johnny's engram, and his consciousness then started to upload itself to V's brain and replacing his consciousness. While V's brain fought back for a while, it later succumbed to Johnny's engram, and the Rockerboy's consciousness became part of V's brain. Johnny even decided to cooperate with V's body to ensure that he survived, hoping that one day he would be able to function outside his new host's body. The relic also shared a few glimpses into Johnny's past with V, and the mercenary learned about Johnny's attempts to save Alt and his attack on Arasaka Towers. While Johnny mostly appeared to advise V or share his views on a particular situation, he often tried to take control of V's body. In the Cyberpunk 2077 video game, Johnny got quite angry when V decided to help the Arasaka Corporation in their attempts to rebuild their organization. However, Johnny was also quite impressed when Yorinobu Arasaka tried to kill all the board members of this megacorp and even expressed his desire to buy Yorinobu a drink. Even though Johnny existed without his own body, he was still quite alive and took great pleasure in seeing the Arasaka Corporation's struggles. He was later disappointed when V accepted Anders Hellman's offer to conduct an operation to separate the two. He then told V that he had betrayed Jackie in his last moments and forever parted from V's body. He was pretty upset by V's decision not to trust him, but he still sided with V in his fight against Arasaka. Johnny also reunited with Alt Cunningham, who tried to convince him to return to V's body. Johnny's decision to stay or leave V's body impacted various decisions in the game, and the players were given multiple choices, which branched out into different storylines. In one such storyline, Johnny teams up with Rogue to attack Arasaka Tower, which leads to Rogue's death in the game. If Johnny decided to stay with V, the mercenary eventually followed Alt beyond the Black Wall, and Johnny was left free to leave the Night City and live his own life. In yet another storyline, V did not like his options, and Johnny then devised a plan to go on a suicide mission and attack Arasaka Towers with him. The two walked into Arasaka Towers and worked together to fight the soldiers. Johnny even faced a cyborg named Adam Smasher in this storyline and finally managed to defeat him. After their fight, Alt helped V and Johnny to get access to the net and even convinced Johnny to return to V's psyche, since the biochip had changed a lot in V's brain and he had a high risk of dying if he tried to survive on his own.
You fell over the edge, punk.
Why is he not there in the Netflix series Cyberpunk Edgerunners? While Johnny Silverhand was one of the most popular characters in the Cyberpunk franchise, he was not included in the critically acclaimed Netflix anime series Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The series was also set in the same Cyberpunk universe and followed the events of the year 2076 that occurred before the Cyberpunk 2077 video game. According to the video game's timeline, Johnny Silverhand was trapped in his engram data chip during the year 2076, which explains his absence from the Netflix series. Moreover, the show's creators had announced that this series would follow a parallel storyline that focused on the Edgerunners, who were mercenary outlaws in their cyberpunk universe. It primarily focused on the life of David Martinez, who decided to become a street criminal after his mother was killed amid a fight between two rival gangs. Since David and Johnny Silverhand were not connected in any way, it did not make sense for the series to include Johnny Silverhand in its storylines. Nevertheless, the series could have name-dropped Johnny and his legendary band, Samurai, or even brought him in as a short cameo as a treat for the video game fans.
In California motel. I wish you all sweet dreams.
Conclusion: to sum it up, Johnny Silverhand lived quite a revolutionary life and immortalized his name in the Cyberpunk universe, especially in the Cyberpunk 2077 video game. He was quite a versatile character who played various roles ranging from a soldier, a rebel, a singer, and he eventually even survived by existing in someone else's consciousness. Additionally, the voice acting done by Keanu Reeves only served as the cherry on top of the cake, and Johnny Silverhand went down as one of the most incredible characters in Cyberpunk 2077. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
Don't worry. I'll be gentle. You might even enjoy it.